Hey guys, so it is day 9 of the Zombie Hunter build. I didn't work too late into the night last night. I had to do what I do for a living, which is writing, and so I had to write a short biography for a journal. But so it's the morning. I got a new coffee mug. This one's for Tasty Trade, which is a financial, a real financial network. It's I guess they do some stock market stuff or whatever, and they give financial tips. It's on YouTube, I believe. So check it out. I'll put a link down below. But yeah, so I wish I would have taken their advice before I went and bought a 34-year-old truck with lots of rust. Alright, so I'm making a patch for this little triangle that I cut out, and what I'm doing is I'm putting the piece in there, and then I just have to trim it to make sure that it fits perfectly. So I know that it's a little bit high over here, so then I'm just taking a little marker . Little by little, trimming it so that it's almost an exact fit. It kind of just like sits in there, you know, and like it can be seated in there without even without welding. I could just place it in there, you know, so it's almost an exact fit, and then tack it into place. So it's better to take off less each time than it is to, you know, end up taking more and then having to fill it in with weld. So this looks pretty good now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my magnet there just to hold it in place, and then I can make my tacks. So if you notice today, I'm wearing a hoodie, covered up with a hoodie, and I'm wearing my gloves because what I didn't, or what I failed to mention before, was that the MIG welder burns with the intensity of 1,000 suns, and I didn't realize it yesterday. I was just wearing a t-shirt, and I started getting a little bit of a sunburn, you know, from the light coming off of this thing. And I'm pasty as it is, so you know, Polish skin was not meant to be out in the sun apparently. And it definitely was not meant to be exposed to UV and whatever other kind of radiation is coming off of this thing. So I'm covering up today just to block myself from the light. I mean, it wasn't too much of a burn. I can imagine if you know, welders tend to usually have a good tan, and that's because they're of constant exposure. But it's constant exposure, which means melanoma, which means that I'll need to have all kinds of weird things cut off of my body. So I prefer not to get cancer, so I'm going to be covered up today. It's kind of hot today too, so it sucks, but what are you going to do? So here I'm going to make my spot welds, weld this into place, and then paint it. Also, you'll see in a lot of YouTube videos, I don't know, welders might think it's cool. They always do that before they start a weld. I'm kind of old-fashioned. I'll just Alright, so these two patches are welded in. I have this one in, it's already primered, and now I just have to finish up this stuff. I'd rather do all the, while it's still daylight out, I'd rather do all the stuff that I can do outside right now on the truck, and then whatever I can take off and bring into the garage, I'll do that during the evening. So that's why I'm still postponing the working on this, because at least I know I could work on this inside the garage. The back here, this backing part is completely destroyed. I'm just using that now as a contact for the negative ground. But I'm gonna probably create a whole new sheet there, and out of the sheet metal, and I'll put it there on these horses here. I'm just gonna remove that saw, and I'll assemble my brake so I can make my bends and stuff there, so I can work on that tonight as well inside the garage. So yeah, continuing with all this. So I ended up cutting out an entire section of the rear quarter panel here, and I'm actually going to cut this out as well, but I'm leaving it in place temporarily while I create my patch. You know, I'm using this kind of as a guide, so I know where to make my bends and, you know, how to shape it accordingly. And then I'll cut it out and I'll just place the other piece directly on there and you know, tack it all into place and then weld it into place. But you can see here's where the lights were, the marker lights on the side, and you know, I would rather not be worrying about combating this for the remainder of ownership of this car. And you can see it's all pitted and disgusting, so I'd rather just put in brand new sheet metal. But you can also see just how thick the Mercedes metal is. You know, they use probably between a 16 and 18 gauge steel on these trucks, which, you know, is a lot thicker than what you find on vehicles nowadays. So that's probably part of the reason why the truck held up so well. I mean, it's 3 decades old and it's rusted, but how many other 30-year-old trucks do you see on the road that are, you know, in good shape? You know, you'll see the usual, especially ones that get abused, like this one has. Yeah. All right, so I'm all done fabricating this patch panel. You can see I just need to finish welding that in, that little crease where the two edges meet, and then it fits right in, and that's that. Alright, so I'm all done with the patch panel, and you know, I couldn't be happier. So it's all welded in, all brand new steel, you know. So we have one patch here, one patch here, one patch here. Theoretically, I probably could have just made it, you know, at least even just did one entire patch, but I broke it up into sections just because it was easier to handle. The last one was complex. I had a lot of complex bends and stuff like that, but I used my brake that I bought from Harbor Freight, so I had it set up here. Oh, I still got the, in case you were wondering, these are $29.99 at Home Depot. So yeah, I mean, it worked in making my bends, and it did a good job, you know, and it kind of, you know, it takes a little bit of practice to like get the bends perfect on there, but I just used a block of wood and, you know, a hammer to kind of make sure everything was the exact angle I needed. But came out nice. I'm gonna, you know, right now I have fast etch on the inside because there was a lot of surface rust on the old panels, so I want to make sure that that's all neutralized and doesn't give me problems later on. So I sanded it down and used the steel brush, and then after that just applied the fast etch inside there. So that's still soaking. I'm going to leave that on in here for probably, see, here's the new ones are okay, but inside there, the higher you go, the rustier it is. I can already see the fast stitches doing its work. You know, the orange has turned black for the most part. And then that's going to get coated with primer as well on the inside, and then again it's going to be undercoated. So hopefully with the monster liner inside the wheel wells on all the interior body panels as well as exterior, it'll stop, you know, any surface rust or any rusting from forming. You know, I'm kind of worried about the seams where I welded the two panels together, like in here, but we'll see. As long as oxygen and water doesn't get in there, it should be okay. So that's that. I'm happy with how it turned out. You know, I got a big project ahead of me with doing that part now, but right now, so far so good. I'm gonna have myself a little bit of dinner and then get back to work. You know, it's getting dark now, so I'll be working in there. All right, so it's already pitch black outside. Luckily, I have the shop light running. Oh, see that? June bugs. June bugs are out. Fly, June bug. Anyway, so they're all attracted to the shop light that I have out here now. I'm working on cutting up the fender and seeing, you know, where all the rust is. So I cut out this piece, and it was just like, here you can see that it was already welded in, another patch, and it was patch on patch on patch. So this is a problem area, and their solution was to just weld on more sheet metal instead of cutting out the bad one. I'm cutting it all out. But you can see here's the inner fender and the outer fender. So the outer fender seems to be the problem. This has surface rust on it, but it's super thick metal. Like it's, you know, these trucks are extremely overbuilt. You know, they're built for military applications. So I mean, but even now, you know, the U.S. Marines use them. So many different military forces around the world use them, and it's kind of crazy because it's kind of an old model. You know what I mean? But it's an old model that works well. So yeah, everything is superly heavily built, and the only problem is the exterior skin. So I'm gonna cut this all off, and then this is what has my attention. I've been, you know, thinking about replacing these rocker panels. This one seems okay, you know what I mean? Like there's some rust in there and some issues, and I cut out this whole chunk that was rotted of the exterior fender here. But all this stuff came out of the rocker panel. Look, we have Bondo, we had packing peanuts, we have just all sorts of pieces of the rocker itself. So it was a big mess in there. I'm gonna take a shop vac and suck it all out, or take the leaf blower and try to blow it all out. I don't know, we'll see. But it doesn't look too bad in there, to be honest with you. You know, it seems pretty sturdy. So I think with a nice sanding and stuff, like this all held up well. Look, there's still green, and even the wax is still on there. So that's good to see. You know, the exterior, this was rotting before that. So that's nice. But what really has my interest is inside the fender. Look how much room there is. I could probably, you know, if it was a bigger hole, I could probably fit my whole entire arm up there. So from like here down, it's all empty space and unused. You know, and look how deep, it's deep too. You know, this is probably what, 6 inches, 5-6 inches. You know, half a hand could fit in there. So I'm thinking about even just using this for another purpose. You know, like I'm a sailor, so in a sailboat, you know, I'm pretty good at kind of organizing things or like packing things in small areas, you know. And in a sailboat, that's what you have to do. Like everything has its space, and everything's kind of like every usable space is used, you know, on the boat. So you know, this seems like a huge waste to me, all this room. So I'm thinking about you know, making like a storage locker or something in the side of the truck, you know. I don't know, you know, I really think that's a waste of space, you know. And I think that maybe like a you know, you can even make like a little area for like jerry cans or something like that, you know, like cut it out and have like a recessed area where you can, you know, store like a jerry can and have it kind of like latched off or something. But we'll see. You know, I just think that it's a waste of space to have, you know, I could put a storage locker or something. So let me know in the comment section what you think I should put in there. Keep it clean and like I want something practical that you can use on a truck. And you know, the one concern is if, you know, if that decides to rust through, then it'll rust to the actual body, you know, the actual tub of the truck, and we don't want that. So this is kind of giving a protective layer, but it also just seems like a big waste of space. So I can always have a protective layer with like a locker, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think I should put in there. I'm really interested, and it really has me thinking now, you know? So it's like, not only am I restoring the car, but I can customize it. But anyway, so gonna clean out this rocker at least tonight. Try to do it before 11 p.m. because I think that's a reasonable time to stop using power tools outside. But yeah, so leave a comment about that space though, because that's really something that sparked my interest.